Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, Isabel, and the whole team of COFASE colleagues who work so efficiently for the Family Lab webinar series. And thank you all for being here with us today. As Elizabeth has mentioned, the topic of today is how to help parents recognize the signs of bullying and cyberbullying, and how parents can respond better in terms of their prevention measures that can take, as well about handling such cases when they occur. At this stage, the training is addressed to professionals working with parents of school-age children, such as educators, school psychologists, social workers, sports coaches, and counselors for parents. We use this first slide so as to remind to children, parents, and educators that they can communicate through the Live Without Bullying platform digitally through their PC, tablet, or mobile application about anything they want to ask concerning the incidents of bullying and cyberbullying. This is the way we communicate with our audiences, that is to say. And we also want to mention that Live Without Bullying is a program offered for free by CMO to all these groups, 7 days per week, 24 hours, is licensed by the Ministry of Education, and since 2015 offers digital online counseling and trainings to families, that is parents, educators, and children. I leave you just 1 minute to see very briefly the units we are going to tackle today. We have 6 sections, actually. And we are going to see them little by little. Before starting, we would like to mention a few things about bullying. What is bullying? Some very basic knowledge. So, when we have bullying when a person or a group of people continuously cause harm to someone else, either openly or in secret. The relationship is not equal. It's not like in siblings, for example, or like brothers. Someone is stronger, or he thinks he's stronger in any way. Many times, parents used to confuse teasing with mockery and bullying. This is not, and we have to clarify what is teasing and mockery. We have teasing when a group of friends have fun and all have a nice time together. Mockery, when all have fun, but the person that is being mocked is annoyed. Something is bothering him, her, but he does not or cannot express it openly. And bullying, we have bullying when a person is hurt. There is a clear intention for this and occurs repeatedly. Some basic points to remember in bullying. It may take place in every school, in every neighborhood, everywhere, under certain circumstances. It usually occurs away from public view. Some children are more vulnerable than others. Anyone can become a target, anyone, even if he or she has no characteristics that are different from others. It is a complicated phenomenon that requires personalized approach. Each case is different. So how serious can bullying be? It depends on a series of factors. For example, the intention to harm, the child's distress, the seriousness of the threat, the frequency it occurs, the duration of each incident, how much it is related to the personal or private life of the child, because it usually hurts a lot when somebody attacks us and his intention is to ridicule something from our family life, from our home background. This hurts a lot, more than other forms of bullying, for example. And also depends on the number of people involved. Why do they do it? Why some children do it? Because in most of the cases, in their family environment, they may experience lack of communication between parent and child, parental neglect, inability from the family background to set boundaries. In their family, there is a restricted sense of empathy among the family members. There is emotional instability from the parents. Also at homes where parents are very authoritarian and they try to impose everything on their children. In family backgrounds where there is a continuous suppression of emotions because no one dares to express himself, herself openly and clearly. And in backgrounds where there is a difficulty in developing their social skills. Also at homes where unfortunately there is violence, overbearing, and a sense of chaos. May I ask you if is it easily followed what I say? Is it too fast or slow? No, it's okay.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Okay, some signs. Okay, signs that may help parents understand that their child has been bullied. Usually parents ask the professionals with whom we work, how can I understand that my child has been involved in a bullying incident? So these are the most common signs, of course. There are many others, but these are the commonest ones. When their school performance is deteriorated, sometimes we can see that their clothes are ripped, they bring with them broken items, or they have some loss of money. They often have marks on their body. We may see that for a period of time their sleeping is disturbed, and sometimes they even wet their bed. Also, children for long periods may be stressed, moody, sad. They find excuses so as not to go to school by saying that they have a headache and stomachache and so on. They feel desperate because they lose control easily and they get angry very easily. They seem upset when they use their phone, when they use the internet, and they do not want to speak about their online activity. And they may even change their eating habits. For example, they eat less or much more than they used to eat in the past. How parents should react when their child is being bullied? What can I do as a parent? How can I react? First of all, it's good to tell parents that you have to take your responsibility as an adult, meaning that you have to tell them that as an adult figure, you are there to provide some help, and children have to feel it. Tell them that they are not alone. Together, you can seek for solutions. Stay calm, do not be impulsive, discuss the issue with the child. Think positive as an adult and pass it to the child as well. You have to act immediately. Only you have to act immediately when you see that the physical integrity of the child is endangered. This is the only case that we tell parents that, yes, you have to do something now. Now, in order for children to open up about a bullying incident, they need to feel like their parent is really listening to what they are going through. He or she is really with them and will try to do whatever he can in a sincere and organized way. They need parents to have empathy, that is, deep understanding, and accept children's feelings without interrupting or giving their own solutions right away, because many times parents do so. They think that their child is going to react the way that they would react when they were children or younger. And 3, think of various possible solutions and evaluate their own personal capacity to implement them, because it's very important that the children feel that the suggestions that are going to come out are suggestions that they can implement depending on the characteristics they have, on their personality. Some examples of conversation, parental conversation, when we start talking with our children about such cases. Come on, sit close to me and try to explain what is bothering you. Take your time. I really want to understand, and maybe we can think of a solution together. Remember that it is better when people share things. Let's see what is going on. Panic does not help. Please give me some time to finish something I'm doing. In a while, the two of us can discuss about everything, starting from the beginning. I will listen to you very carefully. We mention this here because sometimes parents are in a hurry and they are trying to respond to the child and do many things at the same time. This is wrong. It's preferable to say to our children that just give me some time to finish what I'm doing, and then I will sit with you and see very closely what we can do together. Or let's see if there are any other solutions that you haven't thought so far. Sometimes something that can really help, because children say sometimes, well, I have done everything. I'm desperate. I want to leave this school. I can't afford this situation anymore. So we have, as adults, to tell them that let's sit and think together, because there may be other things that you haven't thought of. Also, do not be judgmental, because children usually feel that no one can feel them. They think that they are totally alone. Don't be judgmental. For example, tell me quickly which bum made fun of you first. Do not use threats. That's enough. Tomorrow morning I'm coming to school and I will show them. The child will regret of having talked to you out of fear of making matters worse. Also, it is very uncertain that your involvement is going to improve things. Do not promise the child that things will get better soon. For example, some parents say, we will definitely solve this soon. It's not sure. Finding the right solution may take time. Giving a promise that you can't keep may discourage the child. Do not victimize children more by accusing them or by using labels. It's your fault. You should have made them stop. You are timid. You have to fight for your rights. What are you going to do later in life? And many similar other expressions. Do not encourage the child to respond to violence with violence. Hit them too. Mock them too. Do not judge. You are acting like a baby. When I was at your age, I had similar problems, but I knew how to make these children stop. Do not use future warning. How will you deal with such problems later in your life? Meaning that if you can't solve these ones, which are simple in my eyes, how will you be able to cope with it in your later life? Do not underestimate the incident. What a silly problem. Don't you kids have something better to do? Do not give a quick and meaningless order. Get over it. Move on. Don't let them bother you. It goes without saying that if children knew what to do, they wouldn't depend on the help of an adult, of course. So all these expressions are useless and they do wrong. Take some time to think what is best to do, meaning that parents are humans, are people who have needs as everyone else. It's impossible to know everything. So if you are unsure about what to do, you should be honest. Tell them that you need some time to think a little about it. Ask someone else for advice. The child by no means should feel ignored. In order to improve our communication skills with our children, most of you may know that there is a very effective technique, the active listening technique. Active listening is a technique used in counseling and solving disputes. It requires that the listener is fully concentrated with all his or her senses so as to be able to understand, respond, and remember what has been said. That is why we say that we have to be fully concentrated and not to have other distractions here and there. In this way, the parent or counselor is able to summarize or paraphrase the other person's words, reflecting back what has been said, giving thus the clear message that he or she develops a very accurate understanding of the person's message. We are not going to say everything about active listening because we are in a webinar and we have to say many other things, but you can find much information in the internet and many examples in active listening. Nevertheless, we are going to give some example. Here we have a little representation, very simplified though, for the active listening technique. You have first to build trust and establish rapport with your child, to demonstrate concern with your eye contact, with your body language, to ask specific questions, but by trying to paraphrase or summarize what the other person says with concern, without parroting, by avoiding parroting, and use brief verbal affirmation during the conversation, like, I see. As we do usually with people, we have lots of concern. It goes naturally sometimes. So, in order to help children express their feelings throughout the active listening technique, we encourage, you did well to talk to me. Take your time. There is no need for rush. Use simple words and small sentences. Give them enough time to express themselves without being intrusive. Acknowledge that sharing their problems might be difficult for them. Usually it is very difficult. Summarize and paraphrase what the child has said to make sure that you have understood correctly and show them that you are listening closely. Use brief repetition of what the child has said, but avoid parroting. And use breaks. Sometimes, even if we sit with our child or with another family member or a friend, it's much better to slow down a little and not say anything, because words are not always necessary to express feelings, as we know. Also, use open-ended questions, such as, what happened next? Could you describe it in more detail? And close-ended questions. Does the teacher know what you are getting through? Try to be empathetic. Reflect emotions back to the child without verbal and non-verbal communication, like body language and eye expression. Use empathy. Show genuine interest, care, and validation. Feelings about what you think is right or wrong. It is totally natural to feel that way. Nobody has the right to make you feel so bad. Every child has the right to feel protected and be able to go to school without being scared. Violence is unacceptable. we have to remember to tell parents that children need to hear these things. For us, they are natural, and of course we know that the truth in these words, but children need to hear these words from their parents. It is not so natural for them that they are true. In brief, it's necessary to remember the following: show care, interest, warmth, reflect thoughts and emotions back to the child, validate, de-victimize, it's not your fault, take a stand, violence is unacceptable, search for solutions together, and work together with the school staff. And here, the following, this slide, is a list with 3 steps, which is a very practical way to help parents remember a simple methodology that have to follow so as to help their child overcome their difficulty. It's very, very easy to remember. It has a natural flow and very effective if we want to learn how to practice it correctly and following some simple instructions. The first step, listen carefully by use active listening. Focus on what the child wants to express. Use empathy and try to understand how he or she feels. Use active listening to identify the problems, because sometimes the children say others at first, and the truth is that they are annoyed because of other reasons. So try to see what is the real problem of the child is, as a parent, of course, because this is also the work of experts. But as a parent, we can surely make some steps towards this direction. Step 2, brainstorming. Use brainstorming. Help the child think of possible solutions to the problem, solutions that he or she thinks are appropriate for him or her, and perhaps solutions that you as a parent could suggest to help him or her. But by no means you have to impose your own solutions to the child, because he or she has to feel capable of undertaking the risks next day at school. And the third step is act. What do we mean? Provided that we have produced a set of 2, 3, 4 solutions, we go to our action plan. Decide on a course of action for the next days, what you are going to do at school the next days, which solutions are the most preferable for you, and what am I going to do as a parent? For example, what am I going to do? I will be very attentive. I can ask you. We can sit together and discuss every day how was your day and things like that, and follow up with the results. So we suggest solutions, we make the action plan, but we don't leave the child alone. We use to make a follow-up the next days, the next month, to see how the situation progresses. And remember, give children a chance to find their own solution to the problem. So Isabel and Elizabeth, I don't know if there are any questions so far. If you want me to go on, is it better to go on?
No questions so far, so please continue. Yes.
Okay, okay. May I ask you, everything is clear?
Yes, super.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
So, and we go to a very important topic, which interests every parent, I think, how we can boost our children's self-esteem and help them take a stand against bullying. It's very important for any sort of problem, not only for bullying and violence, but it's important to know how we can boost our children's self-esteem, because it's a very necessary element in order to make their own steps and solve problems. So what we can do: listen and assess the needs, preferences, fears, worries. Reward your child when you do something well while showing empathy. Never compare children with each other or label them. Show your children that you are proud of them, even when they fail. Always grab the chance for positive feedback. Reinforce their friendships. Be a good example yourself. Reward their effort to do things, whatever the result may be. Even in cases they do not something correct, or they confuse things or misbehave. So try to find something good out of it most of the times. Of course, we are humans, and we cannot do it all the time, but at least we have to try to do it. Help your children be assertive and set their limits. This is a very important issue again. What is assertiveness? Assertiveness is very important, is a very important skill in our lives. If we learn how to use it when we are young, it helps throughout our lives as adults. It is important to set our limits and know when and how to say no. So it does not go without saying, it requires training as well. So find occasions, try to find occasions to read articles and seek counseling from experts about how we can better help children become assertive. In the case of bullying, being assertive is trying to ask for my rights to defend myself without being aggressive and without being totally passive. Encourage healthy arguments with your children so as to help them develop their critical thinking. Allow them room for mistakes without being judgmental, as we said earlier. Focus specifically on your child's dysfunctional behavior. Do not label the child as bad, weak, etc., referring to the character as a whole. We can't accuse a child for being timid or being, let's say, fool or whatever. It's inappropriate totally, but in any case, we have to focus on the behavior every time, not the character, and I think this is something that everybody knows. So we help our children be assertive and set their limits. Encourage them to participate in sports and art groups with peers, to meet other children, to make friendships. If children are experiencing cyberbullying, then you should be informed about how to be safe in the internet and transmit this information to the child. If your child's physical well-being is threatened, take the necessary measures to ensure their safety. Help them get informed about their rights in real life and online. And when you see someone bullied or mistreated, don't turn your back. Be a good example and stand up for them. And we are going to see it a little bit further in the next units. So this is an important thing to notice and advise parents what to do, because they usually ask us, what can I do if my child is a bystander and tells me here and there about things, he listens and he is involved, but he can't do anything. What is my responsibility as a parent? So what parents need to know? Who are the bystanders? The bystanders are peers usually present in a bullying incident. They may or may not be aware of the reason of bullying, and their attitudes vary according first to their inner capacity to understand how unacceptable bullying is, and second, on the level of their emotional intelligence, which determines the level of compassion they exhibit for a peer who suffers. The bystanders are usually afraid of becoming targets themselves. They may also feel anxiety and stress, feel sad, weak, and useless. think negatively about themselves and about school, and in many cases, they also drop their school performance. What should I do if my child reports bullying as a bystander? The bystanders also need support when witnessing incidents of bullying. Otherwise, all these negative stimuli may be very harmful for their emotional development throughout life. They don't know how to help without making matters worse. They don't know if their actions will have a positive outcome. They are not confident enough to intervene. They worry about possible negative consequences that their intervention may have on the child who has been bullied, and they are afraid of becoming the next victim. So, what can, as parents, do? We can take a stand against bullying, inform our children about their rights, train our children in assertiveness, as we said earlier. If possible, inform someone from the family environment of the child who receives bullying, but before that, talk with our child. Why? Because our child knows much more about the situation at school and about the characteristics of other children who do this. Inform the school about the incident. Together with your child, think of any other ways to help the bullied child. After a few days, ask your child about the progress of your intervention. Don't leave it like that. One conversation with your child or two is not enough. You have to follow up. Be there for every child that has experienced bullying and openly offer your support. Also, parents ask very often our help about how communicating with the school, because very often when they go to school, they feel confused. They want to tell everything in a short time. They know that teachers are under pressure and that they want to express their desperation and their fear of bullying incidents. They think that matters are getting worse, but they don't know how to express it because they want to say a lot in a short period of time. So we usually tell parents not to expect that educators know all the incidents taking place at school. Of course, educators have too much to do all day, and it's impossible most of the times to know everything happening in every corner, in every room, in every neighborhood. If you are unable to visit a school in person, send an email, because sometimes parents think, okay, well, this is an issue. My child said this and this, so when I have the time, I will deal with it. No, this is wrong, because sometimes the situation deteriorates very, very quickly. So it's important, even if you don't have the time to go to school, to send an email to someone, the headmaster, the teacher, I don't know. Always show respect and goodwill when communicating with the school. When you go to school to report an incident of bullying, try to describe first the exact situation. For example, the bullying behavior the child is experiencing, when, where, how, and how often, in a concrete and organized way. The impact on the child, her emotions, behavior, feelings, and your own feelings as a parent, your fears, suggestions, and anything else that could be of help. We are going to give an example for this. Always show respect, stay calm, and appreciate the work done by educators, which is difficult anyway. That is why you should avoid being judgmental with their work in general. For example, you are doing nothing all day. Where in hell are our children all day and nobody takes notice when they are in the yard, for example? Becoming intrusive regarding the way they do their job. I have told Bill 100 times to ask you to place him on the front row, but you still haven't done so. Why? And act impulsively. Complaints and threats of prosecution is a wrong way to deal with it. It is always helpful to hear both parts before coming to any conclusion and take action. Also, before leaving school, say that violence is toxic and always unacceptable. School must be safe for all students. Adults should communicate with each other, and before leaving school, ask for a plan of action. It may be simple, but just ask for a plan of action. What can we do about it? How can we best collaborate to find a solution? Last but not least, remember that it is the task of the school to act as a mediator between the families of the children who were involved in the bullying incident. It is better to control ourselves and stay calm when the time comes to speak with both families. So here we have a little example of what we mean when a parent goes to school to report an incident of bullying. Since last week, my son George tries to avoid us, and after coming back from school, he stays isolated in his room for hours. You see, it's just what we notice, the behavior. When I ask him, he gets angry and refuses to tell me what is wrong. Even when he's in the same room with us, he avoids any kind of contact. We don't know what to do anymore. The impact on the child. George looks so sad and has frequent outbursts of anger. His school performance has dropped too, and feelings of the parents. This whole situation has worried me a lot. I don't know how to deal with it. I don't recognize my own son anymore. I need your help, and probably I need to get counseling from an expert. And our last section is about the cases that parents are afraid to admit that their child is the person who bullies others, because parents in such cases feel that it is the end of the world. They feel very embarrassed when they see that their own child is involved as a bully at school in incidents. So we tell parents that if you notice that your child is getting involved in violent incidents, first of all, calm down. It's not the end of the world, but it may be a sign that they face certain difficulties in managing and expressing their emotions. Some of the reasons that children exhibit violent behaviors are when a child wants to become part of a new group and begins to mimic their violent behavior. Some children have been bullied in the past at home, school, and are now trying to regain some of their lost strength back by becoming aggressive themselves. Usually these children accuse other children for being aggressive, whether this is true or not. They want to seek attention from their parents, peers, educators, and this is the only means they have to get it. They are more energetic and impulsive by nature, and they are unaware that their aggressive behavior may hurt other children, usually younger children, because in very young age, their emotional intelligence has not developed too much. And as parents, we try to help our children feel how it is like to walk in another person's shoes. In other words, to understand the consequences of his, her behavior on others. What we can do: approach your child with respect and patience and try to see their own truth and point of view, because in many cases, the children who bully others, in most of the cases, have their own things, have their own truth, because they also may be annoyed. They may also have been bullied in various ways. They have their own truth to tell us. So listen to them. If they refuse to talk, reveal to them the piece of information that was passed on to you, but not the person who did it, because at this point it's useless. Try to find out how the behavior started, how they feel about it. Don't focus on why questions at this point. Avoid placing responsibilities so they don't feel incriminated. The aim, as we said, is to help our children realize the consequences of their behavior to the other child. So, as we said, avoid any kind of punishment. If you realize that the other child has been violent too, you should explain the circle of violence and why it should be broken. Inform the child about the course of action that has to be followed. That is, are we going to seek for help from the school or an expert, for example? Express your opinion on the incident and on matters of bullying and violence in general. Is what we said earlier, take a stand. Be concrete and avoid to dramatize things or downplay their importance. Try to gradually create a more positive climate at home. Be assertive, communicate openly with the child and sincerely, and listen carefully and show respect to him or her. Express your willingness to stay in touch with the educators and other school staff about the matter. And if your child is responsible for cyberbullying, you should help him or her understand how harmful this may become for all persons involved. In a number of cases, parents have to check children's online activity and ask help from the cybercrime unit or other specialists. Of course, all these pieces of advice we give, some parents may think, well, we are not experts, we can't do it all together. Of course, we know that we are humans, we are people, we are very stressed with all these situations around us, but at least we have to know what to do, and each time try to pick up what is feasible for us to do. What should I do if my child refuses to talk at all? Because sometimes this happens also. Some children do not say anything, never. So some children refuse completely to talk about their behavior and the bullying incident. They're usually overwhelmed in such cases. Children are usually overwhelmed by strong feelings of anxiety, anger, shame, sadness, and rejection. In addition, they may have experienced a deep trauma or another kind of psychological difficulty, and parents need to find out why. In such cases, when the contribution of the school and the efforts of the parents are inefficient, we have to seek some expert counseling for some time. Also, it is important to help your child understand why her behavior was wrong and try to correct it. There are many ways to apologize for something wrong we have done. This way, you show your child that it is not enough to regret about their actions, but it is also necessary to express this to the person who has been hurt. So keep in mind, as a parent, that you shouldn't feel ashamed because of this misbehavior of the child. Don't cover the case. Such incidents are part of the difficult job of being a parent. Remain calm, stick to your methodology and action plan, seek for help when necessary, and you will be on the right track to deal with the situation more efficiently. And last, because I talked too much and perhaps you are tired of my speaking, some guidelines from the Antibullying network to keep in mind. Speak with the whole school headmaster about the incident. Collaborate with the headmaster and teachers about the importance of following the rules and help for the prevention of such incidents, observe the situation closely, try to be more attentive and observe your child's behavior at home or when he is with her friends, and speak to an educator, headmaster, or to an expert about the incident and seek for appropriate help if needed. So this was our brief presentation. Thank you very much for your attendance.